Hello and welcome, Mark. What a day. Venetian Las Vegas sold. They just announced this morning $6.25 billion. They had announced a couple of months ago that they were putting it up for sale. And then Sheldon Adelson, of course, passed away in January. So this company's in huge transition. But today we learned $6.25 billion for Venetian, Palazzo, the Sands Convention Center, basically all of their assets in Las Vegas. They didn't really say a lot about what's going on with the MSG Sphere, but yeah, it's sold. Apollo Asset Management is going to buy the operations of the casino for $2.25 billion, and then VICI Properties is going to own the land for $4 billion. And we'll get into all like the complication of all of these companies in just a second and how they're sort of all intertwined. But what do you think about this? Do you think that this is good for the future of Vegas?
I think it's, we had talked about this like a month or so ago when the news first came out, and we didn't think they'd get this high of a price, and we didn't think that it would happen this quickly. So I'm shocked on both fronts. I mean, when you look at it, when you look at comparable to what Bellagio sold, which I think was like around $4.5 billion, and that property, I would put it a little bit higher in rank wise, but it is a lot smaller room wise. So I guess it does make sense. It's just during a pandemic when Vegas is struggling, you wouldn't expect this kind of money to be rolling in. But yeah, it's impressive that they got it done. And it's definitely weird, having a company come in like Apollo that doesn't really have management experience in a casino, putting up this kind of stake and rolling the dice with it. They own part of Caesars, but I don't think they were involved at all with any of the day-to-day stuff. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So Apollo in 2008, they bought Harrah's Entertainment, or they bought a portion of Harrah's Entertainment, and they were a majority owner of Harrah's Entertainment, which later became Caesars Entertainment. And last year, that company, Caesars Entertainment, was sold to Eldorado Resorts. At that time, Apollo owned 30%. So they've been in the Vegas market for a long time. As you said, they weren't really, they were owners, but they weren't like operating the casinos heavily, but they were definitely involved. Now, the new Caesars Entertainment has nothing to do with this. That is actually essentially Eldorado Resorts. But Apollo has been in the Vegas market for a long time. On the other side, Vici Properties is very interesting because they spun off from the old Caesars Entertainment in 2017 because of a bankruptcy. And basically, they spun off a lot of assets into this real estate investment trust, including Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. And then over the years, since then, they've acquired tons of more properties, including very recently Harrah's Laughlin, Harrah's New Orleans. They own Harrah's in Atlantic City. And then they've also partnered with other companies like Penn National Gaming where you live, right? Greektown Casino in
Yes,
Detroit.
Detroit.
Yeah, and they've been adding tons of new properties, but this one is going to be very unique. And I don't know quite how it's going to work, but it does seem like it'll be continue to be operated independently. And it is a landmark deal. So as part of the deal, 3 towers at Venetian, about 7,000 rooms. You have the Sands Convention Center, a total of 2.3 million gross square feet of convention space, 225,000 square feet of gaming space, including 210 table games, 1,480 slot machines, the Grand Canal Shoppes, which is a massive mall. And then they're constructing the MSG Sphere, which they have some ownership in. And they don't talk too much about how that's all going to change. I just assume that the new owners will own that as well in their partnership with Madison Square Garden. But yeah, to your point, this is a pretty large price. They do have a ton more rooms than Bellagio and more land, and of course the convention center. So it's all sort of valued differently, but they definitely seem like they got top market price for this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Have you looked at previous deals in Vegas? Is this the biggest deal in Vegas for a single property?
Yeah, for sure it is.
Yeah.
And $6 billion is a landmark deal. That's more than Genting is spending to build Resorts World right now. So it's a lot of money. But again, we've talked a lot about the north end of the Strip and how we really think the resurgence is going to be there. The Venetian is perfectly situated for that. They're near the convention center. They have all that convention space for themselves. Resorts World is opening up not too far away. They have Wynn right there. The future of the high end of Vegas is in that area. So I feel like it's a good purchase as long as the economics work, which I'm not an expert on that side. But like we said, both of these companies have significant experience in the casino industry. Also, Apollo is interesting. They're also buying a giant gaming company in Canada that I just kind of discovered as part of this research. And Vici, over the last year and a half, has added tons of new casinos. So it seems like both of these companies are being very aggressive. And it'll be interesting to see how the Venetian sort of falls in with within each of their portfolios. But again, I expect it'll be run independently.
Now we had thought maybe since Apollo has a history with Caesars, do they kind of partner with them to manage the casino, or do you think what do you think they're going to do something like that, or do you think they start their own rewards program that's separate from it, or do you think they somehow stay linked to Sands for international stuff? That will be kind of interesting to see how all of that plays out. Where do they go with this? Since they don't have that management experience, will they be willing to bring in somebody? And if I don't know, I don't see them as a fit with Caesars. It would be the crown jewel. If Caesars could get it, it would be amazing to run the property. But I just don't see that it would be a good fit for them because Caesars is middle tier. Not very many high end properties, and the Venetian is one of the best in Vegas, in the world. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I don't see it becoming a Caesars Entertainment property of them managing it. My guess is that they'll probably come up with their own loyalty program. I don't think it'll stay tied to Sands either. Sands, as part of this, they no longer have any assets in the United States. They sold their Bethlehem, Pennsylvania casino in 2018. I was actually there 2019. It's a beautiful property, but that's been sold. Now with this sold, they're completely out of the United States and essentially going to focus on their Macau market and then also improving Marina Bay Sands in Singapore and have some tremendous properties there. We talked about them redeveloping the Sands Cotai Strip into the Londoner. That just opened. So they have a lot of momentum there. But yeah, on the Vegas side, I think this is really the future, Mark. Are we going to see more of these casinos get sold for the land with separate operators? I think that's happened certainly with Bellagio and MGM as they've sort of spun off these casinos into real estate investment trusts, and then they lease back the operations. I think this is good because we could see a better variety of operators over the next 10 years as these casinos sort of get split up, even though the land may all be owned by the same trusts on the back end.
Yeah, that could definitely lead to expansion in that and more players programs, which we've seen the reverse over the last decade or so, where we've seen a lot more combination and less opportunity out there. With Eldorado and Caesars and MGM buying up a lot of properties over the years and taking over more. So we don't have a lot of competition for rewards on the Strip. It would be nice to see smaller companies take over certain individual casinos. And you go to like a Rio that Caesars is managing, and they're not doing a good job of it, which you explained when you stayed there. So that's a property they don't own. They're just running it for them. Eventually, they're probably going to split it out to their own thing. If they do a good job with that, will another casino come to them and say, "Hey, you really turned around the Rio. Do you want to come and manage our property for us?" So there should be opportunity, I would think, in the future for sure.
And maybe it is a good thing to have the ownership of the land separate from the operations of the casino so they can each be a little bit more specialized and they can figure all that out. One other interesting aspect of this I just thought of is over the last, 10 or 20 years as corporate America sort of took control of Las Vegas, they started removing theming from a lot of casinos. And with these big sort of corporate entities buying Venetian, it's one of the last really truly themed casino top to bottom. Of course, it's a very high-end casino, very high-end hotel, so very luxury, but it is themed. And I wonder if we might see over the next years some de-theming or if they will double down and keep it. I do certainly hope that they keep it. And I think Venetian would be very difficult to de-theme, I guess. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Pretty much have to like knock it down to the studs.
Pour concrete into the canals and do all that. But yeah, I mean, this is a great thing. Any other parting words? Do you think any other casinos are going to be for sale? We know Caesar said they're not selling anything into 2022, but I have to think that we're going to see many more sales on the Strip as we see the whole landscape completely change over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I was thinking Caesar's probably upset that they can't even sell one tiny casino, Planet Hollywood, which isn't a huge draw. And, well, that's the rumor that they've been trying to sell Planet Hollywood. But, and then this, huge, massive sale goes through. So I do think when, a couple companies combine or gets bought out, I do think they look to spin off the lower end properties or the ones that aren't money makers. So I expect some sales in the future for sure, especially from Caesars.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully, Tropicana, which is not Caesars, will get sold. It's been for sale forever for like a couple $100 million, and then of course somebody
Just open up
dropping
the bank.
six and a
Let's
half
go.
billion.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. But let us know what you guys think in the comments. We want to discuss this. This is a huge deal for Las Vegas and a big transitional time. So let us know that. Don't forget to give a thumbs up for this video. Subscribe to the channel. We do MTM Vegas every single week. We have a regular episode coming out later this week as well. But we wanted to do this just to cover this blockbuster news. You can find everything about the show and our Vegas coverage at mtmvegas.com. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.
See you next time.